Hey team, welcome back to The Pillars. I'm Tech Sergeant Johanna, and today I'm here with our newest NCO, our NCOIC of Religious Affairs,
Tech Sergeant Jacqulyn.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I just got here about 3 weeks ago, and I came from Schriever Air Force Base, the 50th Space Wing. I've been in the Air Force for just under 15 years, and I'm really excited to be here.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So when you got this assignment, did you know that you were going to be involved in all these podcasts and so much kind of fanfare?
No, I didn't know that right away. Shortly after I got my assignment, I got emails telling me these are all of the things we do, float therapy and podcasts and all of this very innovative, now modern type stuff that I've heard of in life, but not in the Chaplain Corps, not in the Air Force.
Okay. So when you got that email saying that all this stuff is what we're working on, what are some things that came up in mind?
Well, it was a little bit intimidating because anytime you go to a base chapel or an embedded unit, you expect that there's going to be high innovation programs going on at the unit. But I never would have expected anything like that. I came from essentially an embedded unit. We didn't have a chapel. We didn't have services. So I was kind of used to that mindset. But I was not used to hearing about float therapy. Typical things that we did were retreats and picnics and stuff like that. And I thought we were doing awesome there. But then I heard about meditation and float therapy and podcasts and 5 Minutes to Thrive. And I just thought, man, this unit is really, really innovative.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we're so happy that you're here. We
Thank
really
you.
know that now that you're here, we're kind of a fuller, kind of more empowered resiliency team. We definitely were missing that aspect. But we have typical questions that we like to ask, and so one of them is, what do you eat for breakfast?
Normally, I don't eat breakfast. Coffee is what gets me started in the morning and gets me till lunchtime. However, this morning I was feeling a little out of the ordinary, so I decided to get egg white bites from Starbucks, which are really good. But coffee is my thing for the mornings.
Okay. So what does the first hour of your day typically look like?
Normally, the first hour of my day is a little bit hectic. I like to wait until the very last minute before I get out of bed because I really appreciate my sleep. Sometimes I stay up a little bit late till 10:30 or 11 because my husband is deployed right now. So there's an 8-hour time difference between us and him. So when it's 6 a.m. for him, it's 10 p.m. here.
Yeah.
And I like to stay up so that we have our time to video chat. So I tend to get in bed a little bit late, but I still have to wake up to come to work the next morning. I get up at 6, but my morning is hectic. I have a 4-year-old who I have to get up and get ready, and she doesn't like to get up in the mornings. I have 2 dogs I have to feed and let out, and I have to get myself ready, take my child to daycare. So before I know it, my first hour is gone.
Yeah.
But it's hectic, but it also keeps me on my toes, and I'm not late to work, so I guess it's working.
That's good. So when you think of resiliency and your role in the religious affairs career field, what does that look like?
For me, resiliency is more of a mindset than it is a physical thing. So I really think that resiliency can come in all kinds of ways. When I first started hearing the word resiliency pop around from the community support coordinator or airman resilience teams, to me it was kind of like just a word. So I really had to self-reflect on what does resilience mean for me? How does that look in my life? And I've kind of come to the conclusion that it's a mindset. So if I have a positive mindset, I feel like I'm more resilient. I really enjoy running, and so running for me is a way to just disconnect from things I have going on in my life and really be able to hone in on my personal resilience. But I also enjoy cooking and reading books. So my husband's been gone for almost 5 months, and in that time, I got my assignment about 3 weeks after he left. I had to sell a house, buy a house here in Virginia, move across the country with a 4-year-old and 2 dogs, and all without my husband. And I mean, it was stressful. We had to get a roof replacement on our house in Colorado and an air compressor and all kinds of stuff that I was just like, man, my resilience is really being tested. And I don't know how I am staying resilient during this time. But I also knew that I had to, right? I had to have this positive mindset, and I had to do things to take care of myself. Otherwise, I would have snapped or broken or been like, I can't do this. You know, and I would have conversation with my husband and family members. Like, I would say, I'm one more thing away from just breaking down. But then that one more thing would come, and I think, oh, well, I'm okay. I'm handling this. And then I'd get through that, and it would be something else. So when I really think about it, it's not anything. I haven't been through anything that anybody else hasn't been through. But definitely in the last 5 months, my resilience has been tested. But here I am, and I live to tell the tale of it.
Yeah,
so.
And that's really difficult. You know, a PCS alone is difficult, but then you start adding the smaller details on top of it, the little things that we forget during a PCS, or like selling a house, then all of a sudden they're like, you need a new roof on it. That makes it, excuse me, that much more difficult.
Right.
Yeah, so that's really good, though, that positive mindset.
Thank you.
So tell us a unique or funny thing about yourself.
I don't like the dark. It's kind of childish. I'm terrified of the dark. I don't like being in the dark. I don't like walking in the dark. I don't like looking in the dark. But I've had to deal with that because, first of all, the time change. It gets dark at like 5:15, so I have to just get rid of that mindset. But I really, really love to read psychological thrillers. And that's strange because I don't like the dark, and here I am reading these super suspenseful thriller type books, but they're just so good. So I had to turn off the what's in the dark mindset and just think, okay, I really like this book, so I just read it.
Okay. So another great question we love to hear people kind of answer is, if you had a gigantic billboard that you could put anything on it to tell the world your message, what would it be?
One of my favorite quotes is Carpe Diem, means seize the day. And we only get one day at a time, right? You can't look back to the past, and you can't look forward to the future. So seizing the day really, to me, means take advantage of this day that you're in. Don't look for tomorrow or, oh, back 2 weeks ago, I should have done this. It's really honing in on this one day and taking advantage of this day that we're in the present, because we just don't know when is going to be our last day. So I think it's really important to just stay right here in the moment where we are.
That's awesome. That is really awesome.
Thanks.
So if you had to look back over the last 5 years of your career and think something that you've purchased or something that you've come across that really has changed your life, what would that be?
It isn't so much a physical item, something that I've bought or seen. Honestly, for me, it has been running.
Okay.
5 years ago, almost 5 years to the day, I was in a job that I wasn't happy in. I didn't really have job satisfaction. I had gained a lot of weight. It put my relationship with my now husband, then boyfriend, on the line. And I wasn't working out, and I was eating really, really unhealthy. And I put on about 40 pounds in less than 2 years. So then I left that job, returned to my career field. I was in a special duty, and went on a deployment about 3 months after I came back to my career field. And I made up my mind, when I go on this deployment, I'm going to start running. And I did. It was scary and brutal. And the first mile that I ran when I was on this deployment was a 15-minute mile. That's horrible, right? I mean, that's terrible. Most people could walk a mile in 15 minutes. And by the time I left that deployment, I ran a mile at 8 minutes and 7 seconds.
Wow.
So that was only 6 months.
Yeah.
That was groundbreaking for me. And I thought, man, if I can shave basically half my run time in half the time, I can be a runner. Yeah. And so over the last 5 years, I've progressively gotten better at running. And back then, 5 years seemed like a lifetime away. But now looking back, it went by in a flash. Yeah. And since then, I've completed several 5Ks, numerous 10Ks, and 2 half marathons. 5 years ago, I would have thought, half marathon, there's no way I could run 13 miles. But here I've done it twice, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. So I would definitely say that running has changed my life over the course of the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah. Do you have those stickers on the back of your car?
I do. I ran a half marathon. My husband and I try to do one a year. He's done a couple of this year, and I haven't, admittedly, because I've been so busy with PCSing and all the things I've had going on. But last November, we went to Florida and ran a 10K on a Saturday and a half marathon on a Sunday.
Wow.
So I do have a Disney World 19.3 sticker, but every time I look at it, I remind myself, it's more for me. It's not for, I don't care if other people see it and they're like, oh, wow, she's a runner.
Yeah.
It's more for me, because every time I look at my car, I'm reminded, I did that. In 2 days, I ran almost 20 miles, and that's a lot to be proud of when 5 years ago, I couldn't barely even run a mile.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing for me, and I do have one of those magnets, and every day I hope nobody steals my magnet, because there's a lot of pride in it for me.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the stickers that are that half of a 5K.
Oh, right.
That's my sticker.
The once a year.
The once a year. Yes. See, you know it.
I like it.
You've heard of
That's
it.
good.
Okay.
That's good.
So, speaking of resiliency and kind of what you've gone through, what would be a really good message to the airmen because there's probably somebody out there right now that is similar to you, maybe where you were 5 years ago, probably in that situation where they're, contemplating some changes they need to make. What would be some words of wisdom or advice you could give that airman?
I would just recommend them, if they're having any kind of thoughts, they want to make a change, but they don't know how to make a change, reach out to somebody who has been there. It doesn't have to be somebody higher ranking than you. It could be your peer or someone lower ranking than you. First, I would encourage them to just ask around, ask people their life stories, because that's where you're really going to get the good information. But I would also encourage them to have a positive mindset. Yeah. If you get stuck in this rut where everything's bad, nothing good is happening to me, and I feel so negative all the time, you have to be willing to shift your mindset and have a more positive mindset. I really believe that if you draw in the energy that you feed out. So if you're pushing out positive energy, then positive things are going to happen to you, right? It may not happen overnight. You're probably not going to lose 50 pounds overnight or suddenly love reading overnight. But over the course of time, you could get used to and get in a comfortable place. It's going to hurt, and it's probably going to be tough, and you're going to be like, wow, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. But it's really important not to quit. Like, when the times really are tough and suck, just push and keep going and look back, and then, or keep, looking forward. Then in 5 years, you're going to look back and think, man, I don't know why I was so negative. So it's really important just to be positive and ask for help if you need help or guidance or just somebody to talk to.
That's really good advice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and being willing and open with our audience and myself to kind of talk about you and how you got here and just how you're excited to be with us today.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And thank you guys for watching another episode of The Pillars. Bye.